was sitting on the floor of a big dance floor, and there were hundreds of people in the room. We were watching a show, and I had to have been about maybe 13, 14, something around that. And I remember seeing each couple come out onto the floor dancing and doing their thing, and one by one they're some of the best couples in the United States. And I remember sitting there on the floor watching them, and finally this one number came out where one of the past US Latin champions was out on the floor dancing, and then another one of the current US Latin champions came out, and another of the Canadian 10 dance champions came out, and pretty soon there were 4 guys on the floor, and they were doing this mambo, and it was just a 4-man side-by-side mambo performance, and it was one of many in the evening. But I remember thinking at that point, I was sitting next to a whole bunch of kids, and we were all cheering and yelling, and I remember thinking at that point, I'm gonna do that. Someday, I'm gonna do that. And the show went on, and it was a great show. I remember it to this day. And I went back to sit down with my mother at the table because there was dinner and food, and it was a dance and everything along with the show. And I sat down there and I said, "Mom, I'm going to do that someday. That's going to be me." And she kind of laughed and looked at me and just kind of, "Yeah, okay, whatever." But I remember saying, "I'm going to do that." And then all of a sudden I find myself maybe 15, 16 years later, it was a long time, and I find myself in the dressing room of that same venue, and I look over, and there's Ron Montez, the guy I had seen on the floor doing that 4-man mambo, and I look across the room, and there's the Canadian 10 dance champion, and he's getting ready, getting his costume on, and another couple guys, and all of a sudden it hit me. I remembered exactly that moment where I was sitting on the floor as a little kid, just so excited and so sure that I was going to do that. And it was pretty cool, because I knew at that moment I was going to walk out onto the floor and do this 4-man mambo. And in a way, I kind of knew I had made it at that point. I knew I had arrived. I had had a full career of ballroom dance, and I had done all sorts of things, had all sorts of accomplishments. But I remember calling my mom afterwards and showing her some of the pictures, and she was so proud and so excited, and I just remember thinking how cool that was. It was pretty neat. So I started dancing when I was 5, and then I kind of did a bunch of other things. I played basketball during high school and middle school. I was always dancing through high school. I started competing probably about the age of 13, 14. I, during high school, won a couple of US swing titles, and very quickly got recognized for my swing talents. I then went to BYU and danced on their ballroom company, and during that time I did 10 dance and competed both Latin and standard as well as 10 dance. Was very successful there, won Latin quite often, and was usually in the top 2 in standard during my amateur days. I then went on and started dancing professionally after that, immediately after college, and I danced as a pro in 10 dance for about 9 years, maybe 10. And while I did that, we were Rising Star Latin finalists, we were Rising Star Standard finalists. We also had a lot of Pro-Am students. I was one of the U.S. top teachers for a number of years. Had about 19 Pro-Am girls, give or take, at any given time, and was winning a lot of the top teacher awards for Pro-Am. During that, I took on personal development and started getting educated in that. I've been certified in NLP as a trainer and a practitioner, and we've been certified as a life coach through the United Federations of Coaches, and had a lot of experience doing a lot of coaching and have been trained in that. I've since then, been teaching and doing a lot of independent teaching. I teach a lot of couples that have had a lot of success through the years. I've been fortunate to have a number of the U.S. Amateur smooth champions, as well as a number of amateur champions in the pre-champ division of standard, of smooth, and of Latin. So I've had a lot of privilege to work with some very talented kids, and they have found a lot of really great accolades through the years, and probably the best accolade is that they've all gone on to be pretty amazing people. And now I own a studio, and the studio is a few years old now, and maybe 2 years old actually, and it's growing and getting larger, and that's kind of the progression of my dancing.